Test, test. Testing 1, 2.
Good morning. Is it on? Testing 1, 2, 3. Is it on? Can't hear it. Those just go on that. Okay. Perfect. Good morning. I'm told it's 8:30 and it's time to get going. I think their butterflies say it's time to get going. So, welcome. Welcome this morning. Welcome executive team members, both here and through the live video streaming. We appreciate you joining in. We also have our supervisors here, some former learning team members. We have a next year's class learning team member here, so she's going to be the MVP of class 4 because she knows what happens here. I just appreciate you all being here to help celebrate. This is a milestone, really. After 40 weeks, they're done, right? They're not done. They're just starting. But I appreciate y'all being here to show your support. Before we go on, there's one other group I really would be remiss to not recognize, and that's our advisory committee. They helped found it, and some of them have started stepping aside, like we've learned, to let others take the torch. And so while some of our original torchbearers that started the Leadership Institute, then the Women's Leadership Institute, have stepped down, our current Leadership Institute Advisory Committee members, who I'd love for you to show recognition to, whether they're here in this room or at our college campuses, hosted by at Harlingen, I believe Ruby is hosting them. At Marshall, our new committee member Bart Day is hosting a room. West Texas, Keith and Janet. And then of course Waco, we're here. So thank you for them. But our current advisory committee is Angela Ball, Kathleen Butler, from the beginning, thank you so much. Irene Cravey, Keith Plantier, our first male student and our male advisory committee member, Karen Stevens, Janet Essery, and new to the committee, volunteered to be on the committee, Bart Day, and yes, from this year's class, Michelle Rachels, Ruby Campazano, and Liz Silva. Did y'all know that? Yeah. So as you may have noticed, our advisory committee changed, but it's giving more people, past members, a chance to have a say in the future, to help me guide it, and to serve as the voices to your executive committees and to your campus there locally. So, will you help me? And thank them. And now, this is what we're here for. We're here to hear from them, the learning team members. They're not a class, really. They're a learning team. They teach one another. One of their final projects was to make this final presentation to you, to let you hear from them what they've learned about their project, which was designed to be a safe learning ground for them to apply the learning principles that they have, and about their development plans. As you listen, if you have questions remotely or here you can just voice them. If they're remotely at the other locations, just email them to me and I'll voice them for you following their presentation. Then the Chancellor will give a few words and we'll do the certificates and adjourn. So, it's time to hear from the learning team.
Well, good morning and welcome. We are all so glad that each one of you came today. I'm speaking on behalf of all of us on the learning team. It is not lost on us how awesome it is that all of our great leaders of TSTC are here watching us talk about learning how to be leaders. And so we just want to thank you. We want to thank you for investing in us as people. At the Learning Institute, investing in all of that. It means a lot to us that you would take the time and the resources to do that. Why the TSTC Learning Institute? What difference has it made? It's made a huge difference in my life and each of our lives. Michelle here, she was saying, I didn't feel very confident at times in my life. And for me, speaking in front of other people was something that I just would not do earlier in my life. And, over the years, I've gained some confidence in that. And I remember the day whenever I said, you know what, I am going to learn to do this. It's not something that comes easy to me, but I'm going to learn. I'm going to add this skill to my life. Have you ever had something like that in your life, where you're like, I don't do this well, but I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to learn it. Well, in this Leadership Institute, the same thing. We've all come, and we all didn't know each other very well at the beginning. But what we've learned very quickly is that none of us are perfect people. We all had things that we had to learn, to grow, to get better, to get stronger. And so as we met together, I saw things in my teammates. Like I saw some who are super introverted, but those people who are super introverted, what I learned is sometimes they are the wisest people. You know what I mean? And so as they began to gain confidence and began to speak up and take leadership roles, they began to really lead our group. And we were like, wow, and those people began to gain some confidence in their role as a leader. And then there were others in our group that had a lot of boldness. And we, right off the bat, we were like, wow, they're pretty good leaders. But on our last day, yesterday, one of them sat around the table and said, you know what I learned? Here's what I learned. I learned I need to be quiet sometimes because everybody doesn't just follow my vision right away. And so I have to hold back and I have to bring people along with me. And as I bring them along with me, they grow and we grow stronger as a team and everybody comes along. We're like, wow, we've learned a lot. We've learned a lot this year. Well, how have we learned? Well, we've learned through a lot of different ways, but we started out by growing as people. We started out with this who am I, really? Who am I as a leader? And we took this real introverted look at ourselves, and we took this Myers-Briggs inventory, kind of looked at our personality, how we communicate with other people. It's pretty eye-opening, as you began to think about yourself and how you relate to people in the workplace. We looked at our strengths, we looked at our weaknesses, and not only did we take a look at that, because sometimes, whenever you take a leadership class, you do it kind of passively. You sit in your chair and you just kind of learn about leadership and you're like, that was nice. I really want to apply some of those things and I'll do that one day. But no, Miss Aliska, she was not having any of that. She had us every week. Not only did we learn about leadership, we read about it, we had to research it, we had to blog about it with each other online, and then we had to apply it. Not only one time a week, we had to do that 4 times a week for 40 weeks. Well, whenever you apply something 4 times a week for 40 weeks, it begins to stick. You begin to learn some things. And so a lot of us grumbled about it was work. It was a lot of work, but we've all grown. I think every one of us would say we've grown from the experience. And not only that, but she now challenges us to move forward. Randy Wooten spoke to us yesterday, and he was all about the bumper sticker. How to put it down to the simplest words. And I think the simplest words that Aliska sends us away with is, how are you different? You came in one way, you wanted to grow, you wanted to learn, you wanted to be different. How are you different? And that's what we all walk away with today. We want to be different, we want to be better, we want to be stronger as leaders, and we want to take away that, how am I different?
One of the joys of the class and purposes was also the understanding the organization as a whole. And we really gained that through you, through having our presidents and the chancellor come and speak into our lives about what leadership means to you and how it can relate to working here. And so we have a much better picture. Natalie discussed how we talked about we did the weekly discussions. We read the book, The Leadership Challenge, and from that, we learned what each individual campus does. We expanded on, well, this works here, this doesn't work here. Soon you're going to hear about our project and what went well, what might not have gone well, and how each campus is different. That was another wonderful way to learn about the organization, because you can have a great idea, but it might not work on West Texas and in Marshall, because we are different, but thankfully we're all serving the same purpose. And the last part she talked about is we're lifelong learners. We're not done here. We're leaving here with an action plan, and they're going to speak a little bit more about that. But thankfully, it's not like we took a test and we can throw the book in the closet and be done. You now have a group of leaders in front of you who are going to continue the vision and carry us further in the future. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Good morning. In regards to lessons learned, while thinking about the lessons learned during this class, we thought about the 5 leadership practices. They're displayed here. Model the way, enable others to act, encourage the heart, challenge the process, and inspire to share vision. Those are all very powerful things. And we struggled with, how do we tell you what we learned other than our testimonials? So we thought the best way to demonstrate the learning was to ask our classmates. So in regards to Model the Way, this is what one of our classmates said, and I'm going to read it so I don't want to mess it up. I need to remember that as a leader, people are watching me. I need to be genuine, authentic, and purposeful in my actions. I need to live my words. I need to always show respect to others, even in trying times. For me, I read this, and I thought about this yesterday. It is a quote from one of our classmates. And it's like a personal credo to me. And I felt like it was very powerful in this session.
And under enabling others to act, I'm going to read it. One of our team members said that leadership applies to everyone, that we need to give others a chance to learn that they can be leaders. That sometimes this means that we need to get out of their way and just allow them to lead. And relinquishing control can sometimes be the hardest thing, but it's allowing them to lead. And then under the behavior, encouraging the heart, a team member said, I learned to be more compassionate. I learned to be more compassionate with my associates and the people I deal with, and just learning to support and sustain and motivate them, and in doing so, that motivates myself.
Ooh, leadership challenge. Keyword challenge. We, throughout the course of this leadership challenge, have learned to challenge ourselves, to challenge each other, to challenge the status quo, and to learn that without failure, success will never happen. We would never be able to learn if we don't try anything new. Even though challenging the process has never come easy for me, I'm sure some of my classmates can agree that we were all challenged to put our best foot forward so that we will all be able to make a difference. And I would like to share some of their quotes with you that I have this morning. I was challenged to find ways to step outside my comfort zone, to try new tactics for relating to others. Learning that failure can actually breed success was also an important insight for me this year. Success does not breed success. It breeds failure. It's failure that breeds success. If I don't have the safe things and never take risks, then success may elude me. My comfort zone is just that, comfortable. But not comfortable doesn't seek change, make strides into the future, or promote growth. It just stagnates. Each failure can be a step up rather than a setback if we have the proper attitude about taking risk and learning from our lessons and productive efforts.
The last item is inspire a shared vision. One of our classmates said, Learning about the bigger vision of TSTC presented at our group meetings was absolutely exciting and inspirational. It motivated my desire to think bigger than ever about what I do for TSTC. Hearing from all of the presidents and the chancellor provided a greater learning experience about what it means to be a true leader. It helped me understand the value and purpose of our organization and provided great insight into what we are doing to move forward with the education of our students to ensure they find marketable careers. And a final quote about what we have learned does not fit any one of these, it fits all of these. The quote is, "Leadership is not just about the larger than life moments. It's about all of the moments of life." Our authors say, and I quote them, "Approach every interaction and every situation as an opportunity to lead. Real leadership is in the daily moments." That was what our authors said. Now back to the student. So in all of my daily moments, I need to model the way, inspire a shared vision, challenge the process, enable others to act, and encourage the heart. Sometimes I think I try too hard to look for the great opportunities when opportunity knocks every day in many little ways. I just need to recognize them for what they are, another opportunity to lead. Thank you.
It took us a little while, but we decided to name our program Mentoring Our Students for Success. And we decided to come up with our own mission, our own goals. And our mission was to provide a positive and meaningful mentoring opportunity to at-risk TSTC students. Our vision was to be a trusted source to all TSTC students by offering mentoring services to both empower and encourage our at-risk students with respect to life-impacting decisions, actions, and goals. The goal of our leadership class was to provide at-risk students with mentors who will encourage success during the spring semester 2013, making sure that our programs, our services, our values to our students throughout the whole state and operate in accordance with the public trust for which we are responsible. Basically, we had a concern for our students, especially the students that was on probation, suspension, financial aid suspension, financial aid probation. We just wanted to help those kids because we didn't know if they had direction. We didn't know if they had anybody to help them. We wanted to be there for them. So basically, we want to encourage the heart and show them that TSTC as a family, we were there to help them.
With every project becomes learning, success and failures, but we incorporated several things within our project that we as a team learned. First of all, we learned to share the vision. We saw the vision of all of our leaders of all of our campuses, and it was exciting, and we shared that with ourselves, with our students. And that mission is to produce successful, educated, employed graduates. As part of our mentoring program, we learned that. Another prospect we learned was encourage the heart. Some of our students come and they just are overwhelmed on, golly, this is actually going to be tough. And so we need to share the encouragement that we felt for them and part of their vision on what they wanted to accomplish. And so we shared that vision with them. Probably most of all and most important, and what people look at as most, is model the way. To be the example that we are supposed to be as leaders. To be compassionate, caring, and most of all, do what we say we do. And no project would be complete if we did not involve ourselves with collaboration among all the faculty, the staff, the students of this particular campus, as well as maybe parents, in regards to mentoring our students to help them become successful. And anytime you help somebody, you help yourself in doing the things you need to do.
Before sharing the results of our class project, I would like to preface with letting you know that this is the first year that the group did the project as a holistic project. And in addition, some of the campuses already had a mentoring program structure in place, so the goal for those campuses was to increase mentor and mentee participation, while the other campuses initiated a pilot program. With that said, Harlingen had 50 mentors and 85 mentees. 7 of the students dropped, and 8 were dropped by administration. 70 students were successful. In Marshall, we had an even number, 16 mentors and 16 mentees, with 11 of the mentees being successful with the program.
In West Texas, we had approximately 20 mentors and no mentees. However, West Texas did challenge the process by having their students self-identify themselves. So this is one of the reasons that we didn't have any mentees. However, it was still successful, and they still considered it to be a success. In Waco, we had 75 mentors and 150 mentees. As you can see, we had varied results. We had varied results because of the fact that each campus implemented their own method for contacting the mentors and the mentees. However, the purpose was still the same. Our purpose was still to make sure that we impacted as much as we could the heart of TSTC, which is our students. And again, while we did have varied results, we were successful. And we believe in this project so much that we are challenging and modeling the way for our next class to consider this project and improving on it and making it even better.
As Aliska stated at the beginning of our presentation, this class is not the end of a journey, it's the beginning. And with this being the starting point for a process of continual learning, it's necessary for its class members to take away from it a tool or a guide, so to say, with which to continue on that journey. So as that guide takes shape in the form of the course capstone project, the project consists of each individual team member developing a personalized leadership development plan. The way this plan came into shape is by taking what was called the Leadership Practices Inventory. The Leadership Practices Inventory was a tool which is used that identifies specific leadership behavioral traits and allows each team member to rate themselves and how well and how often they practice these traits. They take these results, and from that they will build the leadership development plan which they will use to guide their further continued journey through learning, which they can then take back to their respective campuses and share with other persons from where they originated.
The development plan provided us an opportunity to not only identify but also to reflect on the 5 behaviors and related practices that we as leaders demonstrate well and those that are in need of growth. From those growth opportunities, we developed a measurement, a standard for us. What is it that we're wanting to accomplish? We do so by incorporating primary and secondary strategies and action steps utilizing SMART goals. To assist us in achieving success, we will implement learning and development approaches through ways of experience, example, and education. This plan is designed for the lifelong learner, which all of us in this room are lifelong learners. We will do so by holding ourselves accountable for our actions, reflecting on our actions, and also growing. And we're growing into the leaders that we want to become.
What you've seen and heard over the last 15, 20 minutes is a very brief synopsis of the commitment that the 14 members of this team have lived over the last 40 weeks. There's been a lot involved in this. We have studied leadership theory, but as was pointed out earlier, it wasn't all book learning. We were involved in application. We were involved in challenging one another through discussion. There was a lot of introspection involved. There was a lot of looking in the mirror. And sometimes that's comfortable. I doubt that any of us left this morning without at least a brief glance in the mirror to make sure everything was in place. We don't mind doing that sometimes, but sometimes when we're looking at our personality, when we're looking at the style with which we do something or where our weaknesses might be, it becomes a little bit harder to keep that gaze into the mirror to see what's really there. Now, I remember the time that I looked in the mirror and realized, you know what, I really am bald. And that was about the same time that my wife came home with a 6-month supply of generic Rogaine and said, guess what I found on sale? And you can see how well that worked for me. But sometimes looking in the mirror is difficult, but it's a necessary step of growth that has to occur. If we don't know what's out of place, we're not going to do anything to fix it. A lot of the application, as you've already heard, did take place through the project that we engaged through the spring semester. That project, in a way, encapsulates everything that we're about. And I say that because we realize that students benefit from having mentors. Having someone who holds them responsible for the actions and the choices that they make. And we realize that having that same sort of accountability is vital in our development and in our growth. It's already been pointed out, Michelle mentioned even at the very beginning of the presentation, that each one of us does have a leadership development plan in place. Nathan and Kelly have just told you a little bit more about that development plan and how it was brought about. Each member of this class does have that plan in place, identifying 5 areas of weakness that we are going to be working on. All of those plans extend over the next several months with continued study, with continued application, with learning opportunities. Some of those even extend over the next year. But we realize that neither the learning nor the application ends today. Vince Lombardi, the football coach, said one time, leaders aren't born, they are made, and they are made just like everything else, through hard work. That's the price we have to pay in order to reach that goal, or any goal. And so we, as the members of Class 3, recognize that while today we may be concluding the formal training portion of this journey, it continues with learning, with application, with reflection, with experience, and with growth. We do want to say a word of thank you as we close. There's certain individuals, and we run that risk of trying to name some individuals and missing someone, so we're going to paint a few broad strokes here. First of all, we do want to thank those who work closely with us. That may be supervisors, it may be subordinates, certainly the peers that we work with every day, in some cases students, in all cases family members. Who have been patient with us and who have been merciful as we've gone through this growth process, because there is a lot of work involved and it's not easy. We certainly also want to thank the T5 and the other administrators who made this investment in us. We appreciate those who nominated us to be a part of this class. We certainly appreciate those who have encouraged and supported us as we have gone through. Michael Smith once said that transformation happens when people start investing in other people. And we value the investment that has been made in us. We have a certainty that there will be great dividends paid off for the college and ultimately for the students that we all serve. Finally, while there's been a lot of people who were involved in the nuts and bolts of Leadership Institute, we certainly do want to say thank you to Alishka for guiding us along the way, for her graciousness, and for shepherding us through this process. So on behalf of all of the team members, each of us say to each of you, thank you for the part that you have played in this step of our journey. Thank you.
Wow. What y'all think? Y'all want to do it? Chancellor, would you like to share a few comments?
Is it my turn?
It is your turn.
Do we have questions and answers or anything?
I think I'm going to let you share and then we'll do that.
Okay. Can you hear me? Okay. With all due respect, I'm going to talk to them. Okay? Because they're the folks following right now today. So if it's okay, I'm going to turn my back to you and speak to them. From time to time, I run into people who think that leadership has to do with the spot you hold on the org chart or the status you have in the community or the title that you hold or the family you were born into. And I think those folks have an incomplete idea of what leadership is all about. Because surely it's a component. It can facilitate, but it doesn't define the real leadership. If it did, we'd never had Joan of Arc. Someone who rose from nothing to lead an army. To lead. If it had, we'd have never had Cesar Chavez, who changed the lives of millions from extremely humble platforms. If it had to do with how you were born, Christ himself would have been born to a royal family and not as a carpenter. And he changed the world. So, what these people have in common is courage, a loyalty to ideals, and the willingness to actively influence those around them in a way that's consistent with those ideals and principles. What in the world has that got to do with your spot on the org chart, or the family you were born into, or what your title is? You are leaders. And you have studied and worked to become better so you can serve those principles and ideals. And in so doing, influence in a positive way all of those around you. Could there be a nobler way to spend your life? I think that. So, have courage. Be leaders of principle. Take the energy you have and expand it by influencing those around you. Dealing with your self-doubt, but having courage that comes from the principles that you're based on to influence others for the well-being of all. Finally, go find your replacements. The Institute thrives not merely because Alishka worked really hard at it, or because the principles and ideals that she shares are stable in their soundness. Not just that. It's because the energy and the leadership seed that you bring. You know who the rest are. You know who needs the push that you got in the last year. Lead them to follow in your footsteps. I'm really proud of every one of you. And on behalf of the students and the fellow employees that you're about to serve as a leader in our organization, I say thank you for doing what you do. Thank you.
Y'all want to try to sit down? questions, nagging questions that you're just wanting to know a little bit more about? I didn't receive any from the other locations, so if there's any in this room, now's the time. Okay. Hearing none, I want to share with you one thing. Yesterday we challenged the class. We said, when you get up in the morning and you log into the post, whose post can you not wait to read? You know, who most epitomizes the philosophy of the Leadership Institute? Who pushes you harder? Who challenges Cousins and Posner? Who challenges the principles? Who challenges the HBR article? Who challenges it? Who challenges what we're doing? Who pushes you to think harder, to be stronger, and to do more? And they voted. And there were several names in that list. There was one name that stood out. That this class says, this person most epitomizes the spirit of the TSTC Leadership Institute. And that award goes to Troy Williams. Our introvert who never ceases to surprise us. I think you've heard this from each of the 14 in one way or the other. It's no fluff class. They read, they participated. Some of them, bless their hearts, they're in Moodle all day long, and I made them get in it again. Some of them had never been in Moodle before, and they grew through that. They had outside assignments. They had to go shop for ideas. They had to do some honesty exercises. They had to study our culture. They made presentations just to their peers, and then today, and y'all don't know how scary this is to present to you people. We lost 5 friends along the way. Some of our original learning team members were called to accept the challenge and then just were unable to join for one reason or another. Some started the process with us, and we love them dearly. They midway through for health, for retirement, and for other pastures they were called away. But those who answered this challenge and who finished this part of the race by successfully completing all of the learning requirements of the Leadership Institute will receive 16 CEUs today, along with the pride and accomplishment of a job well done. So it's my honor to ask each of you who successfully completed all of the requirements for the 2012-2013 Leadership Institute to come forward and receive your certificate of completion and your CEU award when your name is called. I have grouped you by college so that your president can not be bobbing up and down every other name, and come and help the chancellor give you your certificates. And so please come up. We'll start with Harlingen, Caesar. When your name is called, and receive your certificates. Edna Kloss. Are you getting them?
We're good. Stand right there. Yeah.
Here. Sharon Ferris.
take them later.
Same way?
Thanks, Sarah, sorry.
Hubert Staton. Good job. Elton, will you help? While she's a system employee, Kelly Contella is really Waco's own too. So, Kelly, will you please come forward? And Christopher Gropp. Our next learning team member couldn't be present when we changed the date. Ron, would you come up and accept this certificate for her? I don't know if all of us have met Ron Sanders. We've all heard about him on our blog, on our Moodle, haven't we?
Thank you. I've worked really hard for this.
Cindy Kimbrell. Cindy admires Ron and has learned a lot from him, and I think she would be honored that you accepted that for her.
Thank you. Well, it's an honor to serve with her as well.
Christine Kinslow. And Gail, your turn. Well, I've enjoyed getting to know her. Jenny Alcantar. Just soak it all up. And you've heard from him and seen him again, Troy Williamson. And talk about a leader who's been able to apply her learning on the ground. A West resident, a West City Council member, Jay Mailer. Now there's a few of y'all who are like, oh, you forgot a few people. I didn't forget you. So I was looking over the grades. Yeah, they were graded, they'll tell you. They were graded. Every post was graded. Every assignment was graded. Some of them just stood out. You weren't forgotten. There were 3 whose grades clustered so close to one another that I just wanted y'all to know that they gave it their all. And they made significant contributions to the learning team. They exemplified the Institute philosophy as Troy did, and they contributed to the development of everyone. And their grades reflected it as the top 3 in the class. So will you help me? And so I'll need Elton and Gail and Randy to be ready to come back up. Which one's going to be first? Michelle Rachels.
And this lady does teach the course at West Texas in management, so she should have been at the top of the class. I had the pleasure of worshiping with her last night, and there's nothing better than worshiping with a TSTC coworker. Donna Hill. And last but not least, Natalie Strahan. Whew. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank y'all for all that you did. Wow. Your commitment to continuous learning and to leadership development. I asked Chris this morning, would you have done it if you'd known it was all this at the start? He said, probably not. There's some things, Cindy, we just shouldn't tell you about, so you may need to keep your lip closed. But he said, I'm glad I did, and I'm glad I did. And we started this journey, and in the beginning, they thought that leadership, it's everybody can do it, but it's what the big people are paid the bid bucks to do. It's what they have the grand visions for the huge change initiatives that change lives. But we've learned that leadership can be found in more than them and their great, big, noble acts. Leadership is comprised of those small daily moments. Right, Donna? Where'd she go? There she is. We do influence a lot of people. We influence our peers, our work teams, our students, certainly our friends and family. And we learn to manage up a little and influence our supervisors. Indeed, you guys at the helm have expressed a vision, and we've tried to help you, and we hope that you have seen that evidence today. Their last assignment was to reflect on what they know of leadership, to review their own leadership assessment and write that plan, charting a path for their future growth. They identified opportunities that could make a small difference. They have a plan for making that difference. Times that they could coach someone better, that they could listen better, that they could be more positive towards others, that they could ask for feedback, that they could say thank you more genuinely, more thoughtfully, that they could look for excuses to thank people. Many of you have been overwhelmed to arrive at the end of this class. I got some of those intros to your leadership development plan that said, whoa. They were overwhelmed to see the opportunities for growth that existed. In the beginning, I shared with you, and it's still true today, that leadership isn't a destination, it's a journey. We haven't arrived. We've just begun. But as you work on your improvement plan and become more intentional in leading, you will continue to grow. I'm confident in that. And then you can develop a plan to improve on other areas, because there's always something. And we love that book, and they've changed. The new class has a 5th edition, but it still ends the same way. Kouzes and Posner. That's the first thing I did when I got the 5th edition. I flipped to the back to see if it still ends the same way, because it ends so well. And I'm going to read it to you if you'll indulge me. They say, when anyone asks me the question, how to develop leaders, I tell them I have the secret to success in life. The secret to success, are you leaning forward? Is to stay in love. Staying in love gives you the fire to ignite other people, to see inside of them, to have a greater desire to get things done than other people. A person who is not in love does not really feel the kind of excitement that helps them to get ahead and to lead others and to achieve. I don't know any other fire, any other thing in life that is more exhilarating and has more positive feeling than love. Staying in love isn't the answer we expected to get. But after numerous interviews and case analyses, it finally dawned on us how many leaders use the word love freely and talking about it as their own motivation to lead. That was the heart of their mentorship project, helping our employees to ignite their love for the students, and helping our students to feel loved by their TSTC family. That's what it was all about. That's the horsey ducky of the mentor program.
A new leadership term.
Yeah, the new leadership term brought to us yesterday. So I urge you, the members of the Third Leadership Institute, now legacy members of the Leadership Institute to come, who said, we want to mentor next year's class. We want to put that in the program. We want to help them along. I urge you to stay in love with what you do at TSTC. With our mission, stay in love with our mission, and our vision, and your purpose, because you know it now. Help others to share that vision, to model the way for them. Never tire of innovating or challenging that process. Continue to enable others to act and commit to learning new ways for encouraging their hearts. To our guests, I appreciate the support you have given these leaders and for your time and for allowing me the privilege to accompany them on this journey. Thank you.